Now, this is pretty extraordinary. A British film that was made at a cost of £12 million. And the scenario is that ISIS take over chunks of the Middle East, Iraq in particular, and then appears this sort of apparition, and it is Fatima, who was the daughter of the Prophet, and this film has been put on, but it's been met in Bradford, Bolton, Birmingham and Sheffield with protests. They do not want the Lady of Heaven to be screened. They say that it is blasphemous. And as a result of these protests, one particular company that owns cinemas up and down the country has pulled the film, and when the announcement was made, outside, there was a cheer. Allahu Akbar. They were delighted. And the chairman of the Council of Mosques in Bolton said, "We are a very diverse community and we are very respectful of each other's culture and honour on community cohesion." Well, presumably, if that man was respectful of our culture, he would know, would he not, that part of our culture and history all the way through is we do present images of religious leaders, and not just polite ones, cartoons, lampoons. It's called free speech. It's what we've always had in this country. And to think that a cinema chain has closed this film because they're worried about what might happen to their staff, I think it's very, very worrying. We don't have those kind of blasphemy laws in this country, and I don't want them either. Well, I'm joined now by Imam and broadcaster Ajmel Masroor. I'd like to get, Ajmel, your thoughts on what has happened and on this film effectively being banned from some cinemas in the United Kingdom.
Sorry, Nigel, just to correct you, my name is Ajmel, so that we just get it right.
I apologise.
If you don't mind. That's okay. It's a very good question and a very good introduction. I don't think you've seen the film yourself. If you had seen it yourself, and if you had known about the maker of the film, you'd probably be saying something very different. He's a well-known hate preacher. He's a well-known sectarian.
A hate
who
preacher?
Stokes out. Hate preacher. He does it in Arabic.
What does that mean?
Hold on one second. I'll tell you in a minute. So he does it very well. In the Arab world, he's very well known to be an extremist hate preacher who teaches and gets the Sunnis and the Shias stoked up with a sectarian tension and violence in localities. And it's very well known in the Arab world. He does it in Arabic language, and of course he doesn't do it in English, so we don't get to see it. But those of us who understand and have access to Arabic world, we know what he does. He's the one who made the film, script write, as well as made the whole film. The intention behind the film isn't to actually show how ISIS is defeated. It is actually to further sectarian violence as well as division within certain parts of the community. We don't want that. This is the United Kingdom. I don't want Shia Sunni tension to be at my doorstep. Really sorry. I want to see harmony between all people. He is just stoking up a problem. That's simple.
We all know there are plenty of tensions between different religious and ethnic groups in this country already, and I understand your point about not wanting to stir things up, but here's the point. Here's the point. We are a country that believes in religious freedom. We're a country that believes you can say offensive things. I can quite happily here on GB News tonight, if I wish to, say offensive things about the Roman Catholic Church and the Pope. Our magazines can do the most horrible cartoons of the Archbishop of Canterbury or anybody. And what it seems is there are some sections of the Muslim community living in Britain who are saying, and they've said it very clearly in Bolton, that it's blasphemous for any depiction of the Prophet or his daughter Fatima, even though we can't see clearly a face. They're saying it's blasphemous for those images to even be seen. And I put it to you that insistence that a film is withdrawn for those reasons is against British values.
I agree. It is against British values to be anti-Semitic. You can't deny Holocaust. You'll be in jail.
That wasn't the question I was raising.
And I very clearly, let me make my point, you've made yours. If I deny Holocaust, I'll be in prison.
That is not the discussion tonight.
Hold on, Nigel. Hold on. If somebody is stoking hatred, racial hatred, sectarian tension, I think that's already breaching our country's law.
Let me ask you the question again. Let me ask you the question again.
I am saying
no, you're not answering my question, are you? My question to you
and me,
my
or for this
question to you is very simple.
or our freedom of speech. It's only
is it blasphemous?
An affront to, hold on, it's
is
an
it blasphemous for images of the Prophet or his daughter to be shown in a British cinema? Sorry? Is it blasphemous for those images to be shown?
I'm not talking about blasphemy here. You are.
I am talking to you about the reason that
my
cinema
reason, Nigel.
If you want to just talk through and not answer the question, then I'm afraid you look to everybody doing this right now as somebody who is not prepared to face up to the challenge. I will repeat finally and for the last time that a cinema in Bolton and other branches around the country has closed because there were people outside protesting loudly with placards, and perhaps it was felt in a threatening way to staff and people who wanted to go and see this film, who were saying openly and clearly that it was blasphemous for images of the Prophet or indeed his daughter Fatima to be shown in a British cinema. Now, I am not suggesting that is the view of all Muslim people living in Britain, but I'm asking you, do you think that is blasphemous?
I'm saying something very simple. I'm not interested in blasphemy. I don't think blasphemy exists within Islam. That's my view, very simply.
Well, what do you say then? Well, what do you say
Nigel,
then?
You've asked me a question. Give me the chance to answer.
So you've said no. You've said no, and I accept your answer of no. So what do you say to your fellow religionists who think it is blasphemous?
Is stoking up sectarian attention, and it sounds like you're relishing it.
I tell you what, I am going to ask.
I mean, how country? Did you know?
I'm going to ask the executive producer of the film, but I will put
the most negative way possible.
His charges to you. No, you don't want to have a debate. You want to avoid debate, and I'm very sorry. I've given you the opportunity. You want to talk about the Holocaust and many other things. And I think, in the interest of open debate on GB News, we will choose to end the interview here and now. Thank you very much. Indeed. Now, the executive producer of this film is Malik Shibak. And I put it to you, Malik, that we've just been told that you are effectively working on behalf of a hate preacher, that your film is trying to incite further division between Shia and Sunni Muslims. And that, we're told, is the reason and the problem with this film and why it should be withdrawn.
Hello, Nigel. Thanks for having me on. I do appreciate it. Your previous guest, Amjam, I forget his name. I'm not sure what he's speaking about. To be very honest with you, on the matter of Sheikh Al-Habib, the writer of The Lady of Heaven, he's a very well-known cleric with a large following across the globe. And he's a historian. He's a researcher into Islamic history. And he's put forward this narrative, as being the writer of this film, he's put forward the narrative of Lady Fatima. The film, what it is, Nigel, this film is the life story of Lady Fatima, peace be upon her. She's a beloved figure to all Muslims across the world. We spent 1 year in pre-production going through the historical text with the guidance of His Eminence Sheikh Al-Habib as a historian to depict her life. That's all it is. These claims of it being blasphemy because of showing the Prophet, that's just nonsense. There's two reasons why that's nonsense, actually. First reason is that this whole topic of showing the Prophet is a contested issue across the Muslim world. Wherever you go, every corner of the Muslim world, you'll find a different understanding and interpretation. In many places in the Middle East, you'll find artistic endeavors of portraying the Prophet. So it's not as black and white as these pro-Taliban, pro-ISIS groups have made it out to be and bullied the world to believe. It's not the truth. And from our side, from our perspective, it's very normal to portray the Prophet as long as you portray him in a proper manner.
But Malik, as a British Muslim, Malik, you understand that British culture is that all criticisms and all religious leaders are open to question, open to mockery. You know how things work. What is it? What is it that has made what is it that has made people in Bolton and elsewhere go and protest in the street against this film? I mean, are we dealing with a form of Islamic extremism here? Is that what we're fighting?
So that's my point, Nigel. It's not actually about the depiction of the Prophet. They're using that. I mean, they are offended about that, but that's not actually the main issue. The main issue is that this history, doesn't claim, and we've never claimed, to try to portray a very over-romanticized, fluffed-up version of history. We're tackling history, particularly Islamic history, and myself being a Muslim and myself being from a Sunni background also, we're tackling Islamic history as it is. We want to discuss history openly and look back at what happened, because there is a narrative in this film, although it is about the lady primarily. It does tackle this issue of the roots of these terrorist groups. That's the truth. And these groups, if you actually go look around on the videos online spreading now, that are going viral, you'll find these groups. There's a lot of known names there that are known to be pro-Taliban, pro-ISIS. Even some of them holding up photos of ISIS members, well-known, famous ISIS heroes. So it's not a secret, and you can go on their platforms online. They're always posting about Taliban. So they don't want this history to be spoken about. They don't want this discussion.
No, and
what they're doing.
All historical films and interpretations will have differences. Hey, we question the Crown and whether all of that's accurate, for goodness sake. Final thought, quick final thought. Will this film finish up being banned by all cinema chains in this country?
I mean, that's for them to decide. I say, firstly, thank you to the protesters, because they've done a huge publicity stunt for us, and it's got the film to a much wider audience than we ever could. In terms of the cinemas, my message to the cinemas and to the British community as a whole is: do not cower down to these people. It's empty threats. They have no authority to dictate what we as British people can and cannot watch in the cinema. Anyone wants to disagree with the film, we're happy to discuss. We're happy for you to express yourself, but do so within the bounds of the law. Do so respectfully. Do not try to censor others from expressing their views, for or against. We have no issue.
I thank you very much indeed for coming on and joining this debate, and thank you.